Omahyanatimanasya Jananjana Snakya Sakshan Militam Yena Tasmai Shigove Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gaurvani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachari Dasatarane. Hare Krishna, I am happy to be with all of you again. We will continue discussing a pastime. Krishna steals the garments of the unmarried gopis. We went to a major part of the pastime yesterday, and we continue with reading again text 22.
Recording in progress.
Tridam pralabdas tapaya sahapita Pasto vita kirtana vatsakarita Vastrani cheva paitan yatapyamum Tanapyasuyan pyasanganifita. Translation. Although the gopis had been totally cheated, deprived of their modesty, ridiculed, and made to act just like toy dolls. Although their clothing had been stolen, they did not feel at all inimical towards Shri Krishna. Rather, they were simply joyful to have this opportunity to associate with their beloved. So prior to this point, it was Purvarag, but now they had some association with Krishna. They were completely thrilled that their relationship with Krishna was open. That and in text 23, so the gopis were addicted to associating with their beloved Krishna, and thus they became captivated by him. Thus, even after putting their clothes on, they did not move. They simply remained where they were, shyly glancing at him. So that was the reciprocation. Their rasa, their ecstasy increased. Text 24. The Supreme Lord understood the determination of the gopis in executing their strict vows. The Lord also knew that the girls desired to touch his lotus feet, and thus Lord Damodar Krishna spoke to them as follows. Can someone read the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on text 24? It's on the screen now.
O King of enjoyers, we have received the results of our vows. Though you with what you requested, you made us leave the water. You made fun of us and saw our bodies. You put our clothes on your shoulder and wanted to give us only half of them back. And you spoke to us only as much as necessary. As an answer, we have given you a bashful glance only. Maybe we offend you by this, or maybe you are satisfied with this. We do not know. So you, who are knowledgeable of all that time and place and person, should speak to us, foolish women. Hearing that, we will return home. Desiring to answer them, the Supreme Omniscient Lord then spoke in 3 verses.
So my internet connection is weak. If for some reason I am disconnected, I will connect again, try to connect again immediately. So thank you for reading this comment of Vishvanachkavarti. So they felt that all that happened was Krishna's kindness. And all they could do was offering their bashful glances. Now, there are 3 verses hereafter spoken by Krishna, and then the pastime closes. I will first read the 3 verses without interruption, and then we will go back. So, Lord Krishna said, O saintly girls, I understand that your real motive in this austerity has been to worship me. That intent of yours is approved by me, and indeed it must come to pass. The desire of those who fix their minds on me does not lead to material desire for sense gratification, just as barley corns burned by the sun and then cooked can no longer grow into new sprouts. Long commentary. Go now, girls, return to Vraj. Your desire is fulfilled, for in my company you will enjoy the coming nights. After all, this was the purpose of your vow to worship the goddess Katyayani, O pure-hearted ones. So their desire was to be intimately connected with Krishna as husband and wife. They wanted to be yours in that intimate way. They did. That's why they performed the Katyayani Vrata. So Lord Krishna in verse 25 explains that it will happen, and in text 26 he explains why it will happen. So I read text 26 and 27. First, I read these verses once again. The desire of those who fix their minds on me does not lead to material desire for sense gratification. Just as barley corns burned by the sun and then cooked can no longer grow into sprouts. So that explains why it will happen. In text 27 again. Go now, girls, and return to Vraj. Your desire is fulfilled. In my company you will enjoy the coming nights. After all, this was the purpose of your vow, to worship the goddess Katyayani, O pure-hearted one. So Krishna said, yes, your desire will be fulfilled. This is difficult to attain, but because of the gopis' desire to please him, because of their complete surrender, they gained the jewel they wished to possess. And this will not lead to material desires. Now, I read text 25 again. Why? Because we have a commentary of Sridhar Swami here. O saintly girls, I understand that your real motive in this austerity has been to worship me. That intent of yours is approved by me, and indeed it must come to pass. So Srila Sridhar Swami comments, O saintly girls, your desire was to worship me, and even out of embarrassment you did not state this outright. And it is approved of by me, and it deserves to become true. By using the word arati, must or deserves, which expresses the probability, it is hinted that it would not necessarily be perpetual, because Krishna will be going to Mathura. Now, that, yes, so 25. So can someone read the purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on text 25, which is on the screen now?
O chaste women, though out of modesty you have not spoke about your real desire, sankalpa, in worship of me to give me pleasure, mud archanam, I know and I accept it. Because your desire was pure, it must be fulfilled. What is not possible when it was done only for my pleasure, by praying, and when I am controlled by praying? At this point, the Kripa Shakti made the Lord's power more evident among the gopis, though the power was still under the control of Prem and subject to the pastimes. By this power, he knew the gopis' austerities in worship of Katyayani to attain him and gave them the results according to the words of Garga that Krishna was similar to Narayan, but the gopis now took Krishna as Narayan.
Thank you. So this means that the love of the residents of Vrindavan controls Krishna so much. It forces him to act as he is not the omniscient, all-powerful personality of Godhead, but act as a cowboy. Their love is at such a level that it controls Krishna. He was fully absorbed in their Katyayana Vrata pastime. That now we go back to 26 and we will read the purport. If someone can read the purport, she's on the screen. Please.
The words Mai Aveshita Dhyam are very significant here. Unless one has achieved an advanced degree of devotion, one cannot fix the mind and intelligence on Krishna. Since Krishna is pure spiritual existence, self-realization is a state not of desirelessness, but rather of purified desire. When one desires only the pleasure of Lord Krishna, the gopis were certainly attracted to Krishna in a mood of conjugal love, and yet, having fixed their minds and indeed their entire existence completely on Krishna, their conjugal desire could never manifest as material lust. Rather, it became the most exalted form of love of Godhead ever seen within the universe.
Thank you. Can someone else read the purpose of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti?
If someone worships me impurely or improperly, because I am full of good qualities, I can make that offering pure. What then to say of your absolutely pure desire and pure love? For those who are absorbed in me, their material desires do not result in sense enjoyment. Because of the greatness of the object of love, it results in the disappearance of material desire. Just as barley corns, if roasted in the hot sun, are sown and moistened by water, it is impossible, na ishate, for them to sprout vijaya. Praya here means just as. Another reading of neshate is nesyate. According to Chitsukha, this is a traditional usage.
Thank you. So this comment of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us hope. By devotional service, Krishna will reveal our impurities. So Krishna says, well, this is in the purport of Vishwanath, because I'm full of good qualities, I can make that offering pure. That yes. So their material desires do not result in sense enjoyment. It is very hope-giving. Text 27. Yeah, can someone read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment?
Krishna indicates in this verse that the initial enjoyment will take place on the auspicious occasion of night. O woman, you are perfected, Siddha, perfected being, Siddha. But you have taken the role of sadhakas to increase the sweetness of the pastimes on earth. On nights in the near future, Himakshapa, you will enjoy Ramyasta of the purpose, yet you undertook the austerities in worshipping Durga, Arya, O worshipable pure woman, Sati.
Thank you. Now, 28. Where is the purport? The gopis' desire was fulfilled because Lord Krishna had agreed to act as their husband. A young girl can never spend a night with any man except her husband, and thus when Krishna agreed to engage the girls in the nocturnal rasa dance during the coming autumn season, in effect he was agreeing to reciprocate their love for him in the role of a husband. That's someone read, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is only one line. The gopis returned with great difficulty to Vraj, because Krishna had already stolen their hearts and other senses. Now, this pastime we find also, because that's the last verse of this pastime, but this pastime is also narrated in Gopal Champu, Vrindavan Champu, from Kavi Karnapuri. And I have here a recording of Bhujan Prabhu reciting this part, if I'm not mistaken. That's here. I will play it and you can also hear it. Set the volume high.
When Krishna hands back the clothes of the gopis, we'll start from there again. Krishna said, "You have greatly pleased me, and I feel the utmost limit of love for you. Dress yourself in your clothes, which are redder than pomegranate flowers. May you drown in the ocean of ecstasy according to your individual tastes of love." After saying this, Krishna extended his hand to give each gopi her respective clothes. The good fortune of the Vraja Kumaris thus surpassed that of the goddess of fortune. Holding their shimmering dresses in their hands, the gopis looked like clusters of golden lotuses bedecked with colored flags. They appeared very beautiful. Then they carefully put on their clothes that were nicely scented from the touch of Krishna's lotus hand. Glancing shyly at Krishna, their golden lotus faces bloomed with beauty. Their bodies trembled pleasurably from the excitement of finally achieving his association. Tasting the topmost happiness, the gopis stood there, steeped in affection. Even without touching Krishna, they felt his powerful embrace. Abandoning his gravity, that means unless Krishna reveals his mind because he is so deeply grave, Unless he reveals his mind, no one can understand his thoughts. Abandoning his gravity, expressing his own true deep thoughts, the young prince of Vrindavan spoke compassionately to the young girls. I knew everything before the desire tree of your determination sprouted. I have performed this astonishing pastime just to increase your love. By ordering you harshly, I tested the purity of your love. Attracted to me, you submissively obeyed my beneficial orders, and therefore I have manifested eternal love within your hearts. Your desire is pure, eternally existent and laden with rasa. I reciprocate differently with people in the mundane world. If a pure-hearted person displays such intense desires, I will transform those desires into prema. Then he will taste the blissful nectar derived from experiencing my qualities. This well of nectar exists independently of any other type of rasa. Even Lakshmi Devi hankers for the love that you have so clearly displayed. Just as rice paddy that is boiled in water or fried in fire can never show the qualities of the seed, similarly, the lusty desires of the common people can never sprout in the ocean of such supreme rasa. After hearing Krishna speak, the thoughtful girls appeared beautified with the sweet fragrance of the vine of fickleness. Accepting the words of their dearmost as truth, the gopis experienced both immeasurable joy and agitation due to their intense longing for Krishna. Then, the gopis cried tears of happiness that seemed like the fluid dripping from the ears of a lust-crazed elephant. Without responding to Krishna, the gopis just stood for some time with a disturbed look in their eyes. Now that their vrata was finished, they felt surcharged with love and felt incredible bliss. They murmured amongst themselves, their voices as sweet as cooing birds. Krishna spoke again. Now return to Vrindavan. Soon we will enjoy together during a festive night. You've attained eternal perfection, so stop whispering like thirsty chataki birds. With their sidelong glances and lips trembling in love, the gopis appeared to be covering Krishna with a shower of blue lotus petals and newly unfurled leaves. Pacified and pleased, the gopis then returned to Vrindavan with great difficulty. Srimad Bhagavatam.
So that was Bhorijan Prabhu, that is reciting from Ananda Vrindavan Champu Kavikarna Puri, that where all these Vrindavan pastimes are also related. Many other pastimes are in Vrindavan. You find very detailed described there. So I was thinking maybe I can read, just to end the pastime, the conclusive thoughts of Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Jiva Goswami, having been instructed to return to Vraj, having their desires fulfilled, forgetting about Katyayani and performing vows for her because of their intense bliss, they entered Vraj with sorrow. Why? They meditated on his lotus feet and did not directly see them. They were filled with sorrow because of separation from him. They particularly had reverence for him as their husband, and thus his feet are described as lotus feet. Or being shy, they bowed down their heads, and standing before him only saw his feet. Thus in this way, thus this is what they remembered. Without speaking, they entered Vraj, since they no longer intended to go to the Yamuna for vows. Then we have Sanatan Goswami. They who had their desire fulfilled, Labdha Kama, most being of a similar nature, were instructed by the Lord, who revealed his essential qualities as Bhagavan, Bhagavata, by indicating the rasa dance, to return to Vraj, since they received the order from he who tells the truth, but they entered Vraj in sorrow. Why? They meditated on his lotus feet, but could not see them directly. They were pained in separation. Without speaking, they entered Vraj, since they no longer intended to go to the Yamuna for vows. Though they had worshipped Katyayani by Krishna's boon, they considered their desire fulfilled. They were not aware of a lapse in their vow because of the influence of his powers. That is hinted by the word Bhagavata. So yes, they had to wait till the next Kartik, and then they will dance with Krishna in the rasa dance every night. Good. Now from text 29 to 38. This is the beginning of the next chapter, the next chapter's pastime. And next pastime is about Krishna blessing the Brahmins' wives. And he starts by here. Sukadeva Goswami starts by appreciating the trees of Vrindavan. So we'll hear about the trees. Sometime later, Lord Krishna, the son of Devaki, surrounded by his cowherd friends and accompanied by his elder brother Balaram, went a good distance away from Vrindavan, herding the cows. So purport. Having described how Lord Krishna stole the garments of the young gopis, Sukadeva Goswami now begins introducing the description of Lord Krishna's blessings upon the wives of some ritualistic Brahmins. So can someone read the purport of Jiva Goswami on this verse 29?
It begins to speak of mercy given to the wives of the Brahmanas performing sacrifice. Since there is similarity in the subject matter, the word Atha indicates the beginning of pastime, as the Katyayani vow was in the winter. Since the hot summer sun is later discussed, whereas the days the gopis' garment, Balarama was not present. He was surrounded by his friends. This is mentioned here because the boys play an important role in the following pastime. He is called the son of Devaki for the previous reason. He went far from Vraja. First he went to Kamyavan with many hills. There he decorated himself with minerals. This will be described later. Then he went to the south of Vraja and came to the Yamuna in order to get drinking water for the cows, who were thirsty because of the heat. In order to fetch lunch from Vraja, and in order to give mercy to the Brahmanas' wives by asking them for food.
So, the end of this chapter and also the next chapter, we go again to the summer season. That we are going through all the seasons and now we are back in the summer. That text 30. Then the sun's heat became intense. Lord Krishna saw that the trees were acting as umbrellas by shading him, and thus he spoke as follows to his boyfriends. Lord Krishna said, O Stoka Krishna and Amsu, O Shidam, Subal and Arjuna, O Vrishab, O Ojasvi, Devaprastha and Varutapa. Just see these great fortunate trees whose lives are completely dedicated to the benefit of others, even while tolerating the wind, rain, heat and snow. They protect us from these elements. Can someone read the purport, please?
Can I, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Maharaj.
Thank you, Prabhu. Lord Krishna was preparing to bestow his mercy on the wives of the hard-hearted ritualistic Brahmanas. And in these verses, the Lord indicates that even trees who are dedicated to the welfare of others are superior to Brahmanas who are not. Certainly, the members of Krishna consciousness movement should soberly study this point.
So the point made here, the trees are better than the Brahmins, these ritualistic Brahmins, because the trees are serving Krishna and the ritualistic Brahmins are not. That can someone read the purport of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur?
Yes, Maharaj.
Please.
With the intention of showing that being born as a generous tree is a worthy birth for a gentleman, whereas being born as a miserly Brahmana is useless. Krishna began praising the trees, calling out his friends. 8 cowherd boys, beginning with Stoka Krishna, protected Krishna on the 8 sides, and Devaprastha and Varutapa functioning as overseer of the arrangement and lookout, served as the upper and lower direction. The 11th person, Bhadrasena, the leader of the cowherd boys, paying attention to all the details, was situated at a distance. Krishna observed that the trees tolerated rain and other inconveniences, but sheltered others from rain and heat.
Interesting details about cowherd boys. So can someone read also Jiva Goswami's comment, which is on the screen now?
Can I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
In order to criticize the Brahmanas to whom he will request for their disrespect, Krishna calls his friends and praises the trees. He calls the boys in the order that he sees them. Some say the 10 boys surrounding him represent the 10 directions which gathered around him out of prema. The first 8 are in the 8 directions. Devaprastha holds an umbrella above him, and Varubhuta cleans the path in front of him. Thus they represent up and down directions. The 11th boy was Bhadrasena, who was the commander-in-chief of the boys. He was Balram's attendant and was situated at a distance at that time. The trees were greatly fortunate. Some trees tolerate the wind, etc., but do not protect others. Other trees, being merciful and affectionate, protect others, but do not tolerate the wind themselves. They require some help. These trees, however, do not require help and help others. Thus, they are fortunate.
Thank you. And we will also read Sanatan Goswami's comment. Someone can read this comment on the screen.
Yes, Maharaj.
Please.
He called the chief voice by name out of affection. Though Sridhama is the chief, he called Stoka Krishna first, since he was a friend on an equal level and was standing in front of him. These 10 stood around Krishna to protect him according to Yashoda's orders. This is understood from the Uttarakhand of Bhagavatamrita. Stoka Krishna, Anshu, Sridhama, and Subal were in the east, south, and north. Arjuna, Vishala, Rishabha, and Ojasvi were in the southwest, southeast, southwest, northwest, and northeast. Devaprastha held an umbrella above him, and Varuthapa cleaned the path in front of him. They thus represent up and down directions. The 11th boy was Bhadrasena, who was the commander-in-chief of the boys and lookout. Krishna did not call him because he was nearby, always wandering here and there.
So the gist is that these trees are suffering the heat of the sun, but they are protecting others from the heat. So these trees in Vrindavan are very magnanimous souls, and this is the bhava of the trees in Vrindavan. Also, this very interesting details about cowherd boys who are protecting Krishna. Very nice. Now, that was text 32. But wait. These greatly fortunate trees, but I want now to go to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lord Chaitanya himself wanted to be a tree and read about that. Therefore I will try to get the database on the screen. We are going to Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 9. The desire tree of devotion service. And we will read from verse 45 till 50. And we will also read the purport. So I have to stop the sharing and then get it on the screen. There we have RD 945. So, although I'm acting as a gardener, I also want to be the tree, for thus I can bestow benefit upon all. Can someone read the purport, please?
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most benevolent personality in human society because his only desire is to make people happy. His Sankirtana movement is especially meant for the purpose of making people happy. He wanted to become the tree himself because a tree is said to be the most benevolent living entity. In the following verse, which is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:22-33, Krishna himself highly praises the existence of a tree.
Thank you. Yeah, we pray always before each lecture, Om Jnanati Vandasyantanam Lakam Sakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Gurve Namah Chit Chaitanya Manobishtam. Rupa Goswami says, Manobishtam, the desire of Lord Chaitanya. And here we hear about the desire of Lord Chaitanya. And now the next verse is text 32 that we just have read. That just see how these trees are maintaining every living entity. Their birth is successful. Their behavior is just like that of great personalities. For anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. So we have here the purport. Can someone read this purport, please?
According to Vedic civilization, Kshatriyas are concerned to be great personalities because if anyone goes to a Kshatriya king to ask for charity, the king will never refuse. The trees are compared to the noble Kshatriyas because everyone derives all kinds of benefits from them. Some people take fruit, other takes flowers, other take leaves, other take twigs, and others even cut the tree. And yet, the tree gives to everyone without hesitation. Unnecessarily cutting trees without consideration is another example of human debauchery. The paper industry cuts many hundreds and thousands of trees for its mills. And with the paper, so much rubbish literature is published for the whimsical satisfaction of human society. Unfortunately, although these industrialists are now happy in this life, but dint of that industrial development, they do not know that they will incur the responsibility for killing these living entities who are in the form of trees. This verse quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Lord Krishna to his friends when he was taking rest underneath a tree after his pastime of stealing the clothes of the gopis, Vastra Lila. By quoting this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us that we should be tolerant like trees and also beneficial like trees, which gives everything to the needy persons who come underneath them. A needy person may derive many advantages from trees and also from many animals. But in modern civilization, people have become so ungrateful that they exploit the trees and animals and kill them. These are some of the sinful activities of modern civilization.
Thank you. So this verse was spoken after Krishna stole the clothes of the gopis and took rest underneath the tree. So this is especially trees in the holy dance. I remember I was in Mayapur more than 10 years ago when they they dismantled the whole park before the old temple to make space to start the building or the foundation of the Mayapur temple. And they had to remove trees, and I saw devotees praying to these trees, asking them for forgiveness. So we should be careful that so just a moment, go to the next. It doesn't move. And well, you have to move to text 47, but it doesn't.
Marat,
Yes.
may I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
So you just mentioned that we have to be careful about cutting trees. But we see that whenever we have to do some development or expansion or something like that, then it more or less looks inevitable to cut trees. Like now they're extending the road in Mayapur. The government is extending the road in Mayapur, the approach road to the temple. And without cutting trees, it is almost impossible to extend the road. And then sometimes same dilemma comes while expanding Mayapur city itself within the temple campus, etc. So what is the balance, or is there a balance, or how to approach this whole point?
Yeah, like I said, the devotees, they were asking forgiveness for the trees, of course. It's all in the realm of Yukta Varagya. The temple is, is all meant to please Krishna. That I don't know what they did with the wood or how they used it in Krishna's service. But it is certainly an important consideration, something to consider when making plans. That yeah, I have no direct answer on it. Someone wants to comment on that?
Yes, can I say?
Yes, please.
Recently there was this appearance of Siddhanta Saraswati. I was meditating on one aspect of his life. Like once in childhood, he ate a mango which was not offered to Lord. And then when his father corrected him, took a vow never to eat mango again, and he never ate mango in his life. And he was the same person who served meat to that British officer when this British officer came to Mayapur. And when somebody, aside from Janani Vastu, when somebody objected, how could you serve meat in Sridham Mayapur, and that to a person who is not a devotee? Then he said, I used to have these considerations 100 lifetimes back, but now I'm prepared to do anything for Lord Chaitanya's mission. So I think we can see the uh, Prabhu's point also in the same light, that if it is enhanced to the Lord's service, then it's not completely white thrown, not completely uh, accepted, but for Lord's service, as you rightly said, Maharaj, you prayer.
Yeah, it's for a higher mission. That's also what I understand. At the same time, it's something to be careful with, not to remove trees unnecessarily, for sure, but that's the principle Yukta Varaham. Thank you, Tom. Very kindly. So, text 47. The descendants of the tree, the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, were glad to receive this order directly from the Lord. And there is a purport. Can someone read the purport, please?
It is the desire of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the benevolent activities of the Sankirtan movement, which was inaugurated 500 years ago in Navadip, be spread all over the world for the benefit of all human beings. Unfortunately, there are many so-called followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who are satisfied simply to construct a temple, make a show of the deities, collect some funds and utilize them for eating and sleeping. There is no question of their preaching the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. But even though they are unable to do so, if anyone else does it, they become envious. This is the condition of the modern followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The age of Kali is so strong that it affects even the so-called followers of Lord Chaitanya. At least the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must come out of India to preach his cult all over the world. For this is the mission of Lord Chaitanya. The followers of Lord Chaitanya must execute his will with heart and soul, being more tolerant than the thieves and number than the straw in the street.
Thank you. So, this is the order of Lord Chaitanya, to eat the fruit and distribute it.
Excuse me, Maharaj.
Yes?
Maharaj, sorry for interruption. Maharaj, some devotees are not hearing your voice properly. Some devotees face difficulty in hearing you clearly.
So, Who doesn't hear me clearly? That sometimes the internet is going a little weak here, but yeah, let me know if you don't hear me.
We can hear you, Maharaj.
Yeah, okay. Then we continue, hoping for the best. Text 48. The fruit of love of God is so delicious that whatever a devotee distributes, sorry, so it says your connection is unstable. Yeah? The fruit of love of God is so delicious that wherever a devotee distributes it, those who relish the fruit anywhere in the world immediately become intoxicated. Someone can read the purport?
Yes, Maharaj. Here the wonderful fruit of love of Godhead distributed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described. We have practical experience that anyone who accepts this fruit and sincerely tastes it immediately becomes mad after it and gives up all his bad habits, being intoxicated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The statements of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita are so practical that anyone can test them. As far as we are concerned, we are most confident of the success of the distribution of the great fruit of love of Godhead through the medium of chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, 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 Hare Hare.
So the fruit of the tree is a Hare Krishna mantra. Text 49. The fruit of love of God that is distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The fruit of love of God that distributed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is such a great intoxicant that anyone who eats it, filling his belly, immediately becomes maddened by it, and ultimately chants, dances, laughs, and enjoys. 50. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great gardener, sees that people are chanting, dancing, and laughing, and that some of them are rolling on the floor and are making loud humming sound, he smiles with great pleasure. Someone can read the purport?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, may I try?
Please.
This attitude of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very important for persons engaged in the Hare Krishna movement of Krishna consciousness. In every center of our institution, ISKCON, we have arranged for a love feast every Sunday. And when we actually see people come to our center, chant, dance, take prasadam, become jubilant and purchase books, we know that certainly Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is always present in such transcendental activities and he is very pleased and satisfied. Therefore, the members of ISKCON must increase this movement more and more according to the principles that we are presently trying to execute. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, thus being pleased, will smilingly glance upon them, bestowing his favor, and the movement will be successful.
So, in the last verse, the great gardener, Lord Chaitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result, he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. So, someone can read the purport, please?
Can I read, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
It is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to act himself and teach the people. He says, Apani Achari Bhakti Karila Prachar. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 441. One must first act himself and then teach. This is the function of a real teacher. Unless one is able to understand the philosophy that he speaks, it will not be effective. Therefore, one should not only understand the philosophy of the Chaitanya cult, but also implement it practically in one's life. While chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sometimes fainted and remained unconscious for many hours. He prays in his Shikshashtaka, युगायितं निमेषेन चक्षुषा प्रवर्षायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. This is the perfectional stage of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and eating the fruit of love of Godhead as exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should not artificially imitate this stage, but if one is serious and sincerely follows the regulative principles and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, the time will come when these symptoms will appear. Tears will fill his eyes. He will be unable to chant the Mahamantra distinctly, and his heart will throb in ecstasy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that one should not imitate this, but a devotee should long for the day to come when such symptoms of trance will automatically appear in his body.
Thank you so much. So this was Lord Chaitanya, who wanted to be a tree, acting as gardener. But, so now we go back to the next text, verse 34. So 33, 34. Just see how these trees are maintaining every living entity. Their birth is successful. Their behavior is just like that of great personalities. For anyone who asks anything from a tree never goes away disappointed. So this is a translation from Chaitanya Charitamrita. And we read that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the same one. And then 34. These trees fulfill one's desires with their leaves, flowers and fruits, their shade, roots, bark and wood, and also with their fragrance, sap, ashes, pulp and shoots. Now on this verse 34, I've a quote from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So I'll read from Brihad Bhagavatamrita. In the land of Vraj, any tree with any of its parts can fulfill all the desires of anyone who asks. So any part of a tree can fulfill all desires. Means a piece of bark, a twig from the tree, they can fulfill all your desires. Yet the Lord does not always display opulences in Vraj, because that may obstruct the enjoyment of his pastimes. It is a simple example of how opulent is the land of Vraj. Even the trees can satisfy all desires with a simple fruit, even a single flower, or any parts of their bodies. In other words, a person who approaches those trees has his life ambitions fulfilled. If even the trees in Vraj display such wonderful powers, how could the opulence of Vraj be kept secret? How can Vraj be a suitable place for the Supreme Lord to enjoy his pastimes as an ordinary person? Vraj is suitable because the Lord reveals these opulences only in select instances for his purposes. If there is no special need for them, he keeps them hidden. Thus the opulences of Godhead are only occasionally seen in Vraj, the Lord's charming pastimes, as the darling of the cowards are always visibly expanding. So the next verse is a famous verse quoted often by Srila Prabhupada, but we will keep that for after the break. So now I think it is 5 o'clock, so 5:15 we resume 15 past 5. That's see you soon, and then we will end with the verses, the last 4 verses of this chapter. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Recording stopped.
Hare Krishna, we can continue.
Yes, Maharaj.
We continue with text.
Recording in progress.
We continue with text 35, which is been quoted often by Prabhupada, that it is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. Life, wealth, intelligence, and words. So that's a translation from Srila Prabhupada from the Adi Lila, text 42. But Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse also in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 6, 10, 10. And he has a commentary there. And I will bring this commentary on the screen. Just a moment. Here. It's a different verse. It's a verse spoken by Dadichi, because the demigods were begging him for the bones of his body. And Dadichi says, yes, this body, which is eatable by jackals and dogs after death, does not actually do any good for me, the spirit soul. It is usable only for a short time and may perish at any moment. The body and its possessions, its riches and relatives must all be engaged for the benefit of others, or else they will be sources of tribulation and misery. So, and here Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse which we just read, that So can someone read this purport, please?
Similar advice is also given in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter number 22, verse number 35. Eva janma safalyam dehinam iha dehisho pranayr arthayr dhiya vacha shreya charanam sudha. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. This is the mission of life. One's own body and the bodies of his friends and relatives, as well as one's own riches and everything else one has, should be engaged for the benefit of others. This is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as stated in Chaitanya Chaitamrit Adi Lila, 9th chapter, verse number 41. Bharat Bhumite Hoilo Manusha Janmajar, Janma Sharthak Parik or Bukar. One who has taken birth as a human being in the land of India, Bharatvarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. The word Upakarya means para upakar, helping others. Of course, in human society, there are many institutions to help others, but because philanthropists do not know how to help others, their propensity for philanthropy is ineffectual. They do not know the ultimate goal of life, Shreya Acharanam, which is to please the Supreme Lord. If all philanthropic and humanitarian activities were directed towards achieving the ultimate goal of life, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they would all be perfect. Humanitarian work without Krishna is nothing. Krishna must be brought to the center of all our activities. Otherwise, no activity will have value.
Very nice. In order to help others, of course, we have to be strong ourselves also. So first help yourself before serving others. If we are spiritually strong, then we can help others. I have an excerpt here from a lecture of Srila Prabhupada in Bombay. He said somebody should dedicate his life for this great movement. So these Americans and European boys and some Indians have dedicated their lives for this purpose of the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement. So if you cannot give your life, then you can give your wealth. So according to Rupa Goswami, his program is that Shriyasta should sacrifice 50% of their income. That if there is no wealth, they can give intelligence, they can give their words for preaching. So that's the idea. That then can continue with the last 3 verses. 36. Thus moving among the trees whose branches were bent low by the abundance of twigs, fruits, flowers and leaves, Lord Krishna came to the Yamuna river. 37. The cowherd boys let the cow drink the clear, cool and wholesome water of the Yamuna. O King Parikshit, the cowherd boys themselves also drank the sweet water to their full satisfaction. So we have some comments here. Can someone read the comment of Jiva Goswami?
Can I, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
The boys let the cow drink the water in Yamuna, Tatra, which was very pure, healthy, and giving auspicious result, Shivaha. After the cow drank, the boys drank, since that was the rule for cowherds. O king, this is dharma for cowherd. just as it is for you in relation to your citizens. In spite of the cow distributing the water, it was clear even when the boys drank. Swadu. This is a glorification of water. They drank to satisfaction. Mentioning the word water twice in this verse give it importance.
Yes. The commentary of Sanatana Goswami is similar. Text 38. Then, O king, the cowherd boys began herding the animals in a leisurely way within a small forest along the Yamuna. But soon they became afflicted by hunger, and approaching Krishna and Balaram, they spoke as follows. Purport. Sri Jiva Goswami explains that the cowherd boys were concerned that Krishna would be hungry, and thus they faked their own hunger so that Krishna and Balaram would make suitable arrangements to eat. So they were concerned about Krishna and Balaram being hungry. So now we will start the next chapter and we'll read up to the first 7 verses. Text 1. Shigopa Uchu Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dusta Nibarana Esha Vai Bhatadekshun Nas Tashantim Kartum Arata. Translation. The cowherd boy said, O Ram, mighty armed one, O Krishna, chastiser of the wicked, we are being harassed by hunger, and you should do something about it. So, can someone read the purport and the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur?
The cowherd boys jokingly implied that since Sri Krishna is the subduer of all bad things, the Lord should subdue their hunger by arranging for them to eat. In this statement by the cowherd boys, we observe the intimate loving friendship they enjoyed with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. This chapter describes how the cowherd boys went to the Brahmanas performing sacrifice to ask for food, how they were disrespected, and how they went to the wives of the Brahmanas and gained their affection. After this, the Brahmanas repented. The Shruti says, hunger is man's worst enemy. If you can destroy our hunger, then you will be successful in conquering this enemy. This is their logic.
Thank you. And someone also read the purport of Shiva Goswami.
Being hunger, taking support of their family-friendly mood, not giving heed to the fact that trees yielded all good and that men should also give all things. The boys begged Krishna for food when he brought them to another forest. O Rama, you should give us enjoyment. They repeat his name out of hunger. O Balaram, with strong arms you are capable of anything. Another version has Mahavriya with the same meaning. O Krishna, form of the highest bliss. It is not proper that your followers should suffer. Being more specific, they say, O chastiser of the wicked. Shruti says, Kashut kalavai manus yasya bharat vayaha. Hunger is the enemy of mankind. Destroy this hunger which is giving us pain. They pray to both out of affection. They call Balaram first and repeatedly, since Krishna is pleased when Balaram is respected. Following the rules of etiquette, Krishna also instructs them to do this in verse 4. This hunger we experience to be intolerable. You are capable of giving it relief. You must do this. In reality, this is just play.
Yeah, that's what Shiva Goswami says. And it's just a play. That they were concerned about Krishna and Balaram. That text too. Sukadev Goswami said, thus entreated by the cowboys, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the son of Devaki, replied as follows, desiring to please certain of his devotees who were Brahmins' wives. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the word wives is used here in a singular form signifying a class. In order to give mercy, prashidan, to the wives of the Brahmins, he spoke. Some say that the singular is used to indicate one particular wife who would attain the 10th stage of prema. Krishna wanted to show her mercy and was lamenting on her behalf. Prashida has two meanings, giving mercy and lamenting. So one particular wife, that's interesting. I didn't hear that before. So, can someone read the comment of Jiva Goswami?
Krishna, endowed with all powers, Bhagavan, then spoke in order to give mercy to the wives of the Brahmanas. The phrase is in the singular to represent a group of one type. For a long time, they had Rati for the Lord, Bhaktayaha. The boys first asked the husbands in order to show the glory of their wives. How did the devotion arise? He was the Lord of the universe, Jagat Ishvara, he who shows sweetness and power in the universe. How could devotion not arise in those women who had very soft hearts? Another version has Devaki Sutta.
Yeah, that's interesting. Shiva Goswami is not speaking about this particular wife who would attain the 10th stage of prema. 10th stage. I know 7 stages of prema, but here is 10. Anyway, text 3. Lord Krishna said, please go to the sacrificial arena where a group of Brahmins learned in the Vedic injunctions are now performing the Angira sacrifice to gain promotion to heaven. So there are sacrifices for elevation to heaven. Karma Kanda, these rituals, they must be performed very nicely, without errors, otherwise you don't get the results. With so many technical details. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, to show the Brahmins that he does not give mercy to those who do not have bhakti, even though they are endowed with austerity, knowledge and religious principles, and that he gives mercy to those who have bhakti, their wives, even though they lack knowledge and austerity. Krishna sent the boys to the Brahmins. So it is to show that he does not give mercy to the Brahmins. But we will see this pastime is interesting because after when these Brahmins meet, these wives of the Brahmins meet Krishna, they become completely pure. And then these ritualistic Brahmins understand that their wives have attained the goal of life, love for Krishna, and they accept them as their spiritual master. And by their mercy, they get also, Krishna gives them also liberation. So finally, will give mercy also to these ritualistic Brahmins, but the pastime has a purpose to show that he does not give mercy to those who do not have bhakti. So that's this Sanatana Goswami speaks about this rituals which they performed. So go to the sacrificial arena, Deva Jachanam. They are chanting the Vedas, but do not know the meaning of the Vedas, or they do not know how to chant the Vedas, Abhamavadina, nor do they know the meaning. Thus they are performing a sacrifice for elevation to Svarga. He indicates certainty. In that next verse, he puts himself in a lower position and glorifies Balaram. Though he had all good qualities like humility, his statement indicates lack of respect for them, as they desired Svarga. So, in the next verse, because Sanatana Goswami said next verse, Krishna will glorify Balaram. So, text 4. When you go there, my dear coward boys, simply request some food. Declare to them the name of my elder brother, the Supreme Lord Balaram, and also my name, and explain that you have been sent by us, specifically sent by us. Purport. Lord Krishna encourages boyfriends to request charity without being embarrassed. In case the boys they felt they had no right to personally approach such respectable Brahmins, the Lord told them to mention the names of Balaram and Krishna, the holy names of God. Can someone read the purport of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur on verse 4?
Can I, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
You should ask for rice, yachata, calling out our names. Though they are supposed to be intelligent, they must have been woken up from deep slumber by calling out our names, calling out Baladeva's name first. He is more elevated than I, since he is of a Kshatriya birth. The materialists will give to him out of respect. Even if they gave a little, it is acceptable.
So Sanatana Goswami writes, as devotees we should not beg for food. You were sent by us too. Thus you have no fault. But the followers also are at fault. By doing kirtan of our names, the fault will be destroyed. Why? The Lord is full of all powers. He taught a method of begging while chanting the Lord's names. That's what Sanatana Goswami says. And it tells us how to beg while chanting the holy names. That text 5. Thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the coward boys went there and submitted their request. They stood before the Brahmins with palms joined in supplication, and they fell flat on the ground to offer respects. So, Vishwanath, they approached with folded hands to show their humble attitude and to obtain some grains. Though they fell on the ground, they appeared more effulgent than the Brahmins who were living the same Vraj. They looked much more effulgent than the Brahmins. Sanatana Goswami. They went because they had to follow the Lord's order. They begged in this way, instructed by Krishna. They are described as acting with proper conduct, folding their hands and falling on the earth to reveal the bad conduct of the Brahmins. It is understood that Krishna told them to do this, or because they were the best devotees. This was natural to them. To show devotion to the Brahmins, they also chanted the Lord's name. text 6. The coward boy said, "Oh, earthly gods, please hear us. We coward boys are executing the orders of Krishna, and we have been sent here by Balaram. We wish all good for you. Please acknowledge our arrival." Can someone read the purport, please?
Term Bhumi Devaha, gods on earth, refers here to the Brahmanas, who are supposed to closely represent the will of the Supreme Lord. The philosophy of Krishna consciousness is not a primitive polytheistic doctrine holding that human beings on the earth are gods. Rather, it is a science that traces the descent of authority from the absolute truth himself, Sri Krishna. The authority and power of God naturally extends along with the extension of his creation. And on the earth, the Lord's will and authority are represented by purified, enlightened men called Brahmanas. This account will illustrate that the ritualistic Brahmanas approached by the cowherd boys were not at all properly enlightened and thus could not appreciate the position of Krishna and Balaram or that of their intimate associates. In fact, this pastime exposes the pretentious position of so-called Brahmanas who are not faithful devotees of the Supreme Lord.
So, they were not real Brahmins, because a Brahman represents the authority of the Lord, and they were approached by the Supreme, by the coward boys on behalf of Krishna and Balaram, so they were in a pretentious position. That Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes, we are following Krishna's order, because he's the son of King Nanda. He has more power than Balaram. We have been sent by Baladev. We will give him the first rice that we receive. The interesting details that Shiva Goswami, they address the Brahmins with devotion. They mention Krishna first because their main attraction is for him, forgetting the order that Krishna gave them. Balaram was the main sender, however. Covering their mistake, they say good fortune to you out of respect. So that interesting purport. Can someone read the purport of Sanatana Goswami on text 6?
Yes, Maharaj. They spoke with devotion, O gods of the earth. They mentioned Krishna first, though they had been instructed to mention Balaram first. By nature, they had special devotion to Krishna and identified themselves as his servants since he had given the order. Not seeing any respect given when they spoke, they thought they had committed offense and asked forgiveness. Good fortune to you. Or they said this since it was natural for any person making a request. Why have you servants of Krishna come? We have been sent by Balaram. By the order of Krishna, Balaram sent us. They were devoted to both but were more devoted to Krishna. This shows that Krishna was greater than Balaram. Or ordered by Krishna, we came inspired by Balaram. So both of them sent us. They did not follow Krishna's order out of devotion to Krishna and thus mentioned Krishna first. The power of both of them is indicated by their names, which are famous and glorious everywhere. Thus we, his servants, have come by his order and not on our own.
Thank you. Text 7.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
May I ask a question now, or should I wait for the section to be over?
Well, we have one verse more, and then
yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
We break, then we can have questions and discussion. I hope so. Text 7. Lord Krishna and Lord Achyuta are tending their cows not far from here. They are hungry and want you to give them some of your food. Therefore, Brahmins, or best of the knowers of religion, if you have faith, please give them some food. So, can someone read the purport?
Can I, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
The cowherd boys doubted the generosity of the Brahmanas, and thus they used the word Bubikshitau, meaning that Krishna and Balram were hungry. The boys expected Brahmanas to know the Vedic injunction Annasya Kshuditam Patram. Anyone who is hungry is a fit candidate for receiving food in charity. But if the Brahmanas would not recognize the authority of the Krishna and Balram, their title Dvija would be taken to mean merely born from two parents. Dvi from the two, Ja means born, rather than twice born. When Brahmanas did not respond to the cowherd boys, the initial request, the boys addressed the Brahmanas with a slight trace of sarcasm as Dharma Vittamaha, O best of the knower of the religion.
Okay, thank you. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives an interesting comment. Can someone read, please?
Can I read, Maharaj?
Please.
We are asking from you some rice. But since Krishna and Balarama are not Brahmanas, can we give before the Brahmanas have eaten? But they are hungry. There is a saying that those who are hungry should be given food. Seeing the Brahmanas unfavorably inclined and not saying anything, they said, O Brahmanas, if you have faith in Krishna and Balarama, they give. And if you do not, then say no. And we will go back. You are the knowers of the highest dharma, dharma vittamaha. So what can we say about dharma and adharma to you? Because you remain silent on hearing that Krishna and Balarama are hungry and asking for food. When the whole universe melts with love on hearing their names, we can understand that you are twice born, Dvija, just born from the parents. Calling them best of knowers of dharma actually means they are completely ignorant of dharma.
Hare Krishna. Does Shiv Goswami have similar comment? So, we will stop here. Now please, if you have comments, discussions, questions.
May I, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
Just like in this context of Brahmanas and their position, and as we generally, we daily recite this mantra also, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitayacha. So, I mean, as we understand that, like they are like kind of specially treated by Krishna, the Brahmanas and the cows. I mean, kindly correct me, but I haven't really come across, at least in Nectar of Devotion, one of the 64 limbs of bhakti as worshipping of the cows, Brahmanas. I mean, would you like to comment, Maharaj, on that? Why it is not so?
Yeah. That so worship of the Brahmins. We see in the commentaries of our acharyas here that Krishna wanted to teach us that these are not real Brahmins. Brahmins represent the authority of Krishna. And they were interested mainly in getting a benefit from themselves, going to the heavenly planets. And that was not appropriate. But still, the cowherd boys are very respectful. Say you are like the gods on earth, and but our acharyas seem to explain between the words that they are using. There's some sarcasm also. That so that is what I understand. Does that make sense, Bimal Prasad?
Yes, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Mother Hema Gopi, please. You have raised your hand.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. The Brahmanas later realized their mistake and they got the mercy of the Lord through the wives whom they accepted as spiritual master. I was wondering what triggered that repentance in them, like what was like usually something happens that they realize Krishna as God, no? Like Brahma Vimohan Leela, Brahma was able to see Krishna as God. Indra was able to see Krishna as God to trigger that change of heart. So what triggered the change of heart for Brahmanas, Maharaj? I'm trying to understand. Thank you.
That is interesting, the point you are making. Of course, even in Karmakanda, the Karmakanda rituals, Lord Vishnu has to be pleased in the ritual, in the sacrifice. So that when they saw their wives coming back, because their wives went without their permission, we will see. And that was a concern of the wives of the Brahman, because when they were feeding Krishna and Balaram and the cowherd boys, then Krishna said, that's very nice, you have come, very nice, but now I want you to go back and to assist your husbands in their sacrifices. That's your service. And you do your sadhana. You hear about me, you chant about me. So he said, go back and do your sadhana. That's more important than my physical proximity. That's what Krishna said. But then we will see that the wives of the Brahmins, they will, I'm going a little ahead, but they say yes to Krishna, but if we go back, our husbands will reject us. How can we go back? We went without their permission. And Lord Krishna promised them, everything will be all right. They will treat you with great respect. So, and they went back, but because they had seen Krishna, they started to exhibit all 9 symptoms of ecstasy, of prema. That their hair standing on hand, and they also found out they are not interested in us anymore. No material affection anymore. No interest, only interest in Krishna. So, and then they realized that they have attained love of Godhead by these symptoms. The point you are making is, Mother Hema Gopi, that at what time did they realize that Krishna was the Supreme Lord? I cannot answer that question, but they realized that it was due to love for Krishna, for the Supreme Godhead. So at least at that moment it must have happened. And then they realized that the goal of our sacrifice is Lord Vishnu. And there, Krishna, who is non-different from Lord Vishnu and Balaram, they come to ask service and we say no. So we are most condemned, and they start to condemn themselves, and they accepted their wives as their spiritual master. And by that, by that inner humble attitude they developed, they got the mercy of Krishna, and they got also liberation. That's what I could say, Gopi. Is that okay? Thank you. So,
Thank you, Maharaj.
Nadia Bihari Prabhu, please.
Yes, Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, when we were reading, we were saying about the verse, Yugaitam Nimishena verse. So normally when we hear that the holy name is non-different from the Lord, it's nothing, it's not at all different from the Lord himself directly. So how do we understand, especially in Kali Yuga, that Yugaitam Nimishena is, because the holy name is accessible to everyone at any time. So how could we feel that the Lord is actually far away from them? Because when the Lord is present in his holy name, just at that moment's desire of the devotee.
Yes, that is, I would say, the most difficult problem for us all, because that is a direct link with the 10 offenses against the holy name, which are forms of disrespect of the holy name. And that is because we don't realize that the holy name is not different from Krishna. So that is an issue. If we have great faith in the holy name, we accept it as Krishna, then by that faith and that respect and that proper inner attitude, then the holy name, the potency of the holy name will be revealed to us. Therefore we have to overcome these 10 offenses, because Krishna is everything. Means also we are part of Krishna, we are part and parcels. So we must first behave properly, especially to the devotees and the spiritual master, and understand they are also representing Krishna. They are parts of Krishna. So it's quite an awareness that we have to cultivate. So it's a whole process that it's not an awareness that appears as a sudden. The holy name is Krishna. But if we continue hearing and chanting, our appreciation and attachment to the Krishna's holy name will increase. So it's a process. That's what I understand, Nadia Bihari Prabhu, but maybe if others may have also comments on that. What do you think, Nadia Bihari Prabhu?
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. That is, yes, that is good explanation. I was also thinking about how maybe when we say the holy name is non-different, maybe it could further be understood how exactly it's non-different. Basically, because it's infinite. Krishna is infinite. The holy name is infinite. So our understanding of non-different is finite. So there may be probably some more explanation or understanding of that when we say the non-different nature of the holy name.
So your point is you want to understand how is the holy name equal to Krishna? His holy names and Krishna, how is it? I think that's your question, that I understand. But that understanding cannot be gained by any intellectual exercises our brain is material. We cannot understand this. It's understood to the heart by realization that so it's a kind of different understanding, because Krishna is translogical, is beyond logic. That is translogical. That's yeah, and can understood only by pure devotion. So that's the way to understand this. That's yeah.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mother Hema Gopi, you have another point?
I often observe that when devotees do yagya, which are directly Vedas, which are direct emanations of the spiritual, from the spiritual world, Krishna's flute sound, I often observe the devotees alongside the yagya chant Hare Krishna Kirtan. And I was asking why it is so, because this is also Yagya mantras are all Krishna's flute sound also. So why are they chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? I was inquiring, and they said that Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is for showing devotion, and only through that devotion Krishna will appear in the other yagya. And if that if Maha Mantra is not there, then the yagya will not have that result, because only with the yagya you cannot invoke the result of the yagya. Only with the Maha Mantra, which is showing devotion, you can invoke the result of the yagya during that period. You can invoke it. So I thought when we say Maha Mantra, when we are saying Krishna and his form and all, maybe it's just referring to Maha Mantra only, because it's like devotion or something. The idea is not clearly formed, but it's something to do with Maha Mantra and Krishna being non-different, or the devotion to Krishna, something. I would like to hear some. I mean, it's just not in the thought, so I thought I can just share, and you could explain something more, Maharaj. Thank you.
That's an interesting point that will come back in the 11th canto. In the Uddhav Gita, Krishna will explain many kinds of sacrifices and their results, but he will make it very clear: if there is no bhakti in any of these sacrifices, the result will not be there. So bhakti is an important part of the sacrifice. And also when Krishna Balaram in Vrindavan was installed, some of these local Brahmins did the installation and all the jahyas, because otherwise the residents of Vrindavan would not accept it. But the devotees at the same time did kirtan, and Srila Prabhupada said the kirtan, that's the real installation, the devotion. So that we will discuss further in the 11th canto also. Thank you, it's a good point. But, something else? Good, and we will continue tomorrow and start with text 8, and from text 8 onwards there are quite very deep comments that and yes, very interesting. Look forward to discuss this further with you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you very much. Shantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Holiness Bhakti Prabhu Swami Maharaj ki jai.